As a blue Zerg, playing for Team Shopify Rebellion, it is SCARLETT. And in the top right instead, the red Zerg from Team NV, and from Korea, it is Maru. Oh my goodness, this is one of the... Well, these two players have played against each other. Like, I can't even count how many times I've seen SCARLETT versus Maru. This is going to be great. SCARLETT versus Maru is always great. Of course, Maru has a very high score against SCARLETT. But just because Maru is an absolute monster of a player, that doesn't mean SCARLETT cannot put a dent into players such as Maru. She's such an unpredictable player. She can easily get on your nerves with a quick cheese, or she can get to 80 drones faster than anyone you've ever faced and just absolutely smash you with sheer production. Looks like it's going to be a fairly standard Achkas pool once again. We've not seen anything to... Ooh, cute fishies. This is a very good looking map. This is supposed to be on the ocean's floor or something. So, is this map when I think where units die over here, they just float to the sky because like they start actually like floating, right? And that is a very nice effect. Like, who doesn't like it? It can be fairly distracting though. That is most certain. Maru gonna drop down. His command center on the low ground, nothing to scare him. While SCARLETT is going to go for the Clash opener and get a 27 Overlord and a 27 Hutch. Meanwhile, Marine on the right, on the top, looking to find any scouting overloads. Not gonna find any. SCARLETT doesn't have a high amount of them. With this kind of build, you want to keep them where you can save them. SCARLETT is gonna keep one on the right side of the map, as you can see. Maybe even scouting for proxies, she was. While, of course, the Zerglings trying to gain control of the watchtowers, which are such a fine addition to this map. It's one of my favorite maps of the new pool, really. I think it's a very, very smart map in most things. Like, you have to be smart to play this map correctly. Which says a lot about the map makers, who do such a great job at keeping this game interesting every single season. That is a fusion core. Yes. That is definitely a fusion core. There is definitely a tech lab next to the factory. And there is definitely going to be a swap between the Stargate and the factory, with aliens to stop any scouting. SCARLETT has an Overlord on the right. She's not going to turn into an Overseer anytime soon. Maru will keep some Marines back home to stop the scouting while moving out with the rest of his Marines inside the Medivac. SCARLETT looking to find something over here. Will find a command center in the making on the low ground. This is the macro battlecruiser opener, if you want to call it that way. Meanwhile, Medivac is going to get on top of this Overlord. 8 more lanes in the making for SCARLETT. Maru will start his first battle cruiser. And I haven't seen this in a while, but I always enjoy this. And I think it's a very good build in a new map pool, especially 2000 atmospheres. There's an absurd amount of dead airspace behind the main base and the natural. Like, that is crazy. Like, you can keep probably like 5 battle cruisers there and they will all be out of range. Well, not 5, but probably 3. Maybe even 4. While Larry is incoming for Scarlet, very standard timing. While Maru is trying to keep up some aggression, trying to get something done with his medevac. Doesn't even have an armory to turn these aliens into Hellbats, but still looking for damage, still looking to stop the crit spread. There's a lot of queens out for Scarlet. And finally the Overlord flying into the main of Maru. We'll get a very good scouting information. Might be too late though, as the battlecruiser is now out. And will quickly jump for the other side of the map. Scarlet finds out at the right moment and will move her drones out of harm's way. Meanwhile, Queens trying to get on top of the battlecruiser before any real damage can be dealt by Maru. Yamato Cannon actually on the way as well. While Queens desperately trying to keep this poor little Overlord alive. Queens do not have a lot of energy. They will transfuse each other back to full health. But there's still so much DPS out of those Marines and aliens alike. Aliens are trying to get in the mirror lights. More Marines focusing down the Queens. One of the Queens actually falling down. And it's a very important Queen to keep alive. Another Queen is going to be barely saved for transfusion, just to die soon after. Only 2 drones and 2 Queens died. And honestly, I would call it a victory if I were Scarlet, because this started in the most horrendous of ways. And now this Overlord is going to try to escape from his life, while a battlecruiser safely gets into dead air space where nothing can reach it, and 2 Cyclones alongside weapon refit, aka Yamato Cannon, in the making for Maru, while the Spire is soon to complete for the Zerg player instead. Scarlet sending some Zerglings in, trying to find some damage. There's already a lot of aliens for defense, alongside 2 Cyclones and even more battlecruisers. And yes boys, it's going to be mech throughout the board for Maru. Look at this, like this is a gigantic area. Like, yeah, like, okay, you can keep way more than 5, you can keep like 40. Sadly, you cannot make 40 battlecruisers, you do not have enough supply. Well, you can, but you will not be able to make anything else. Finally, the Corruptors getting on top of the battlecruiser will just portal jump away and stay alive. Meanwhile, a second battlecruiser approaching on the bottom right. And gonna get Yamato Cannon on top of one of the Corruptors. Getting also that Overload and maybe even another Corruptor before flying away. Too many Corruptors are already here, trying to get on top of it. It will just portal jump away. And Maru spreading some missile turrets left and right to keep everything he has alive, to keep his production safe from the Corruptors' caustic spray. A lot of aliens making their way, and didn't see Blue Flame was done. Blue Flame is not done. Cyclones gaining a lock on top of the Corruptors. Scarlet is making a lot of units. 71 workers, 14 roaches in the making. She wants to stop this mech army before it can get online. The Cyclones are the most important part of it. They can get some very strong lock-ons on top of the Corruptors and stop them from killing the battlecruiser, who can easily make short work of the rest of the army. Of course, missile turrets helping a lot with these as well. Meanwhile, Lynx in the natural trying to find damage. Corruptors diving on top of these battlecruisers, while the rest of the army of Maru desperately trying to keep the ground. The Corruptors cannot do much against Cyclones, battlecruisers, and missile turrets. But the ground army of Maru has been absolutely annihilated by the army of Scarlet. She's getting in the natural. The battlecruisers are between her and victory though, and she cannot end this game straight up away. Ravager piles raining on top of these battlecruisers. 16 workers killed by Scarlet. But this game is not over yet. 20 workers killed. Maru stays alive. Even just barely. Roaches getting left and right. It looks like Scarlet is not even making any more drones. 144 supply. and almost half of it is worth of only units. 6 workers finally in the making, while 3 corruptors are on the way as well. 29 workers and counting. These roaches are just not dying. They're getting on top of everything Maru had. But SCARLETT doesn't manage to break the army of her opponent. 5 more corruptors on the way. Missile attack 2 and air attack 1 are going to be the tools by which SCARLETT will try to break these 3 battle cruisers, Hellions, Cyclones and Tanks army. Upgrades are in the making for Maru 2. His economy was quite destroyed by SCARLETT, I'd say. But he's not really looking too behind. A lot of weapon refit, Yamada cannons trying to get on top of everything. Meanwhile, the Corruptors trying to focus down battle cruisers one by one. They're gonna jump away after getting yet another very advantageous trade. And you can see Maru catching up on the supply already. How does he do that? He doesn't skip a single production cycle ever. And he has so many workers out already, out of 4 command centers. SCARLETT getting on 84 workers, getting on 5 bases, but still doesn't really have that late game army you can absolutely stomp through a mech army. She needs a hive. Pinley nest in the making, that's an interesting view. I'm not too sure about that Pinley nest, probably just for run-bys? I don't see many other reasons to get one. Oh, melee attack as well. That's expensive to be just for run-bys. There has to be some other reason. Anyhow, the army of Maru is very mobile and will try to abuse it by getting a lot of workers killed here on the left. Gonna get to up to 6, actually 7, before the 4 aliens are cleared. Meanwhile, on this other side, an Elbad is getting even more stuff done. But not enough, it seems. Corruptors flying over whatever they can, trying to get a caustic sprite chance. But Maru is sending his battle cruisers already on the right, looking for some damage without repercussion with his portal jump away. Well, tactical jump. I don't know why I call it portal jump. It wasn't a Protoss unit who had a portal jump kind of thing. I don't remember what it was. Anyhow, Ravager Bass raining on top of everything in the 4th base of Maru, but the battle cruisers are getting on top of this base over here. Weapon refit gets used, but there was, well, Yamada cannon gets used, but there was almost a death sentence for these battle cruisers. I think that one actually died as well. Or it was very, very close to dying, because SCARLETT was there just when she needed to be. And Maru didn't find any real damage. I've in the making upgrades for the infestors. SCARLETT is getting to the point in which she needs the spellcasters. Of course, getting the Cyclones are always great catches for the Zerg player, but Thors are on the way. And when the Thors are here, Maru will be at its peak point with +2 armor almost completing, as well as +3 weapons being halfway through. Watchtowers are surely helping to keep the army of SCARLETT in position, getting a lot of Cyclones with those piles as well. But Maru still a decent presence on the map thanks to these battle cruisers, dropping down scans, stopping Cryptumors. Stopping actually SCARLETT from getting any control on the right side of the map while setting up a siege position on the left. A very smart play by Maru. But Corruptors are gonna make their way on top of the battle cruisers to stop them from getting any more damage. Yamada cannons get used on top of that archery in the making, will not stop it from going up. But this base over here is in a very difficult position. 8 tanks sieged at the borders. A lot of Ravagers trying to get over here, but the tank position is just a little bit too strong, it looks, for Maru. SCARLETT losing so much of her own supply, basically for nothing. Actually almost piling down in rogue Corruptors for this. For these Ravagers will finally get a victory over here, but the Thors are here, and they will try to do their best to stop these Corruptors from ever flying through the map unscathed again. The army of Maru was cleared. The archery was saved. I'll call it a victory for SCARLETT, but the price paid was very high. And Maru has a fairly decent amount of production already. He can get more stuff and end this base decently quickly. Very good upgrades on the making for SCARLETT. Adrenal glands, +1 air defense, 46 pain lanes? Right. With +2 melee, they can deal a lot of damage. His Corruptors flying away into safety, with +3/+3 being seconds away from completing for Maru, and that is it's going to be some serious trouble for the Zerg army keeping up with the damage. Here comes the battlecruisers on the left, as well as a bunch of turrets and triple Yamato cannon. Gonna get the queens, which are floating to the water roof. While these many banelings, can they stop the Thors? I don't think they can. This base is doomed. I like banelings as much as the next guy, but you need Zerglings to stop these Thors from getting too much damage done. All these drones falling one after the other. Thors and Cyclones getting on top of the Corruptors as well. Here comes the banelings. They roll through, but they don't get much damage, do they? They will get a couple Thors. But in the end, on the ground, I don't see many roaches. Only 4 Thors remaining. The Corruptors showing away the battlecruisers. Is this going to be a defense? I don't think it is. Corruptors chasing the battlecruisers on the right. Tactical jumping into position. He doesn't get the kill on the battlecruiser. And it looks like the Thors are winning the battle against roaches and ravagers. This game has been insane. But Maru finds a ton of damage onto the army of SCARLETT, who is forced to spend Airbank Neuroparasite on the way for the Zerg player. So many Thors being produced at once for Maru. But Neuroparasite can be a real nuisance for these Thors. Alongside roaches and maybe Brutloads, it can get very difficult for Maru to keep control of his own army, quite literally. Oh, but the economy has been absolutely devastated by Maru. SCARLETT on 67 workers, just now catching up to 80 again. Your Parasite almost done as well as +3 melee, but a good fungal will get 1 alien. Meanwhile, Ravager Piles trying to get as many missile turrets as possible. Meanwhile, on the left, a Hellbat run by. He's gonna get 5 drones and stop mining from the base altogether. Neuroparasite is still a little ways through. That's 7 Thors marching to the bottom right hand corner. Actually, a Raven in the making as well for Maru. A lot of banelings in the making. Can SCARLETT get those perfect neural? She definitely can. And now Thors fighting against Thors. The base is falling down. 16 workers have been killed, but the Thors are killing each other very quickly. Banelings have been made, but all of the infestors are going to fall. Maru takes the game. I'm actually kind of surprised Maru didn't go for any proxy in both games. I get it in game number 1, but here, of course, it's a very important match. Like, a victory for Team MV will mean absolute dominance. Like, it will mean not even a sweat to get a first place. While Team Shopify Rebellion kind of needs this victory. There's currently a couple teams threatening their place into the playoffs. Alpha X being one of those as well. But it's starting to look very difficult to topple Team MV. Of course, if SCARLETT gets this game, it's going to be a tie score. And that can lead to some interesting shenanigans in the third match of today's stream. We will see, we will see. Ashika's pool on one side. Rex reactor expand? I don't even know how to call it. I was so used to call every single turret opener a Reaper expand. Yeah, I guess I'd call it a reactor expand, right? I guess it makes sense, somewhat. With double marine production before the factory is done, to just get a good defensive option and something on the ground to maybe fly it around with medivacs a little bit sooner. Like, even with mech, we've seen Maru actually going for some early medivac kind of I won't call it timing, just trying to get some crypt tumors, get some vision, some control, and the likes of it. Is Rex actually flying into the horizon? Oh, just looking for the Overlord. Yeah, of course. Does this mean we're going to see mech again? Because Maru doesn't really look like he cares a lot about this Rex. It doesn't really look like he's caring at all about this Rex. He's gonna get on the low ground, but not even started on the add-on. Another Marine is in the making, and yeah, this Overlord was in another position, saving his own life. SCARLETT already getting on top of a quick spread, already connecting her bases, almost getting to the middle of the map. I'll say halfway through the middle of the map, with the third base already having a lot of creep around it. It's going to be insanely important against a player such as Maru, who can easily try to get around you. It's again a fusion core, by the way, by Maru, which again is going to prove pretty difficult to deal with for SCARLETT. See if we're gonna see an early layer. This time it's an armory, medivac, and Hellbats, and Marines, and soon to come a battle cruiser. Hitting very early for Maru is this Hellbat push. Trying to get on top of the Queens, but the Queens are all clumped up together. They're gonna get so much AoE damage from the Hellbats. That's a huge misplay from SCARLETT. And now the Hellbats can easily get on top of the drones if they want to. Marines safely hiding behind the Queens. This one medivac needs to fly into a better position. It's almost gone down. Drones trying to micro away from the Hellbats. Only one Queen left standing, and GG gets gold. Maru doesn't even need the battle cruiser.